Good morning! Welcome back to another episode of Jason's Life in 5. Today is Sunday, April 11th, 2026. Andreas is getting the car pulled out. We are outside of Würzburg in Germany, and we are going to be heading down into Bavaria. We're going to go down and hit the town of Rothenburg Ob Der Tauber. It's a very old, historic town, very picturesque, and see what else we can find. We're driving through, I believe this is Ensfeld, where we spent the night.
I think, yes.
And we are going to look for a place for breakfast before we get on the motorway. Our next destination is about an hour down the road. I guess unless we drive super fast,
No.
but we will not be doing that. So they've got some pretty amazing looking baked goods here. Might be a pretty good place to have some breakfast. And look at those cakes. And then if you want, they'll actually cook something. For breakfast, I am going with a nut pastry and a hot chocolate. It's a little cold out. I thought it might be nice. It's nice and warm. So breakfast is over. I really enjoyed my pastry. It's quite good. Andreas had eggs and like bits of ham. And now we're gonna go out. Hopefully it doesn't rain too much. It's supposed to be a little bit rainy, it appears, at least in the morning. But we're gonna go, as I mentioned, to Rothenburg Ob Der Tauber. And this is a town that's very famous for the old historic town. It's very quintessential, classic Germany. It's got, I think, one of the largest towns with the original fortifications or wall around the city. So let's get on the Autobahn and head back. There you can see the Main River. It's like a very beautiful valley. We have arrived in Rothenburg Ob Der Tauber. Behind me is the old city wall and one of the towers. This is actually one of, I think it's 3 or 4 cities where the original fortification wall is still intact. Actually has kind of an interesting history. Personal history. I came here many years ago with my wife. It would have been in August of 1998. And that's another thing. I want to see if I can find the spot where there's a picture of her that we have that we laugh about, and I got to see if I can find that spot because it's one of those memories I just always smile when I think about it. We'll go ahead and enter into the old city. Did a little bit of research online, and it said that in the 1300s, this was one of the 20 largest cities in the Roman Catholic Empire. So it's a very picturesque town. Since then, it's become very touristy because of all of the old remnants, and there's an interesting history there as well. So there are stairs. We can go ahead and go up and walk along the walls in the fortification of the city. So we'll go and take a look.
My family.
Some of these steps are well worn. The rain is accentuating little pockets where people have stepped, and you can see puddles forming. And now we are up here. Come out here. You can see the outside of the fortification walls. We're wondering if these are people that have sponsored the wall. You can see different locations, Los Angeles, LA, and then some German sounding names. In 1631, during the 30 Years' War, the Count of Tilly brought his troops here. He had 40,000 troops, and he wanted them to be stationed here. But unfortunately for the city, they had no interest in this, and they tried to defend themselves. Well, the army laid siege to the city, and they were defeated. So the Count of Tilly took over the city, and there's a story, it's more probably of a myth, that he was going to burn the city to the ground, and he was going to kill the council people that were leading the town and then burn the city down. But the story goes that the council people, before they were put to death, they negotiated to bring him a chalice with like 3 1/4 liters of wine. And if they were able to have someone drink that in one sitting, he would save the city. And the mayor came and drank the whole thing in one sitting and was able to save the city. And he kept his word and did not burn down the town. Or so the story goes. Now, sounds like this is a myth or a legend because it didn't appear until many years after in any kind of writing. But it is a fun story to think about, even if it's not true. But after that, the bubonic plague came through in the 1600s, wiped out many more citizens. And really kind of after that, Rothenburg didn't really have any wealth or power. So it kind of more or less became kind of an afterthought in the region. It no longer had really any value. And that's really a lot of what saved this city and kept it preserved, is that there was no reason to be here. And so it's allowed people to, come and see the old city here, which is amazing that we have that. Here you can see the old stone wall, or I believe it is Altensteinmauer on our right. You've got the city out there on the left. Looks like we've got maybe the church or cathedral. It's really quite pleasant up here. I think this is kind of the quintessential German town that Americans think of when they think of Germany. We'll head down there in a few minutes, check out kind of the main square. It's one of the spots I remember from my visit here before. I think we're going to go into one of the towers here. It's not very high looking there, but I just heard Andreas say, "Whoa," behind me. It's very dark in that little tunnel, and not very even footing. More names. It's quite interesting. They just seem to continue on, and you get different characters, different places around Germany, but a lot of American names as well. So I'm very curious about that, why these names are here, and I just don't know. Now this is interesting. Behind me there are some steps to go up. I don't know where it goes, but we're going to adventure and see. Now if you look at these steps, you will notice they appear to be pretty worn. And I do not know how I'm going to get past here without hitting my head or back, but I'm going to try. Ugh.
I don't know whether you read that, but the city was founded by a stout hunter. Okay. We'll say hello to Andreas down there.
You're not going to venture in here?
No, I'm fine to just watch you in.
I don't know how I will get out of here, but I'm in here now. At least we have quite the grand view. Now if you look here, engraven is the year 1633. So this is, I think this is 2 years after the siege and the 30 years war. So kind of cool to think that that's in here. There's lots of other people that have scraped different things into the wall, but that one does stand out as pretty neat. Now, we'll see if I can get out of here. I don't know if I can. Oh. Maybe this is meant for little kids, and I should not be in here.
Are you okay?
I think I'm okay, maybe.
You not do anything dangerous? Too dangerous?
No, I just thought I was gonna live in there forever, but I've made it.
So get your neck twisted low and the shop surfer.
Yeah, there you go. And now we'll go by the beam. And there you go. The adventure in the tower was done, and now we'll continue along our path.
The German king
Uh-huh.
was the Frank kings, like
Okay.
Charlemagne, were elected after him, after his death and after his son's death, because the empire split up.
Okay.
And in the German part, which became the Holy Roman Empire,
Uh-huh.
they have what they called a Pfalz. A Pfalz is like a lightly fortified villa.
Okay.
And they moved from place to place, the kings, to reign the country.
Okay.
And by the times, through the centuries, these became fortified. So in 11 something, Conrad III, from the Staufer branch of Karl's family,
Yeah.
he built the first castle here. And that's the foundation actually of the city.
Oh, okay.
And but it was still just a. So that's probably why this is independent to any landlords, to any earls or something,
Okay.
and directly owned by the king.
Gotcha.
And in those days, for centuries, there was a difference between what was the empire's, the king's property as a king,
Uh-huh.
and his personal property. And that's how Switzerland. That's why the Swiss fought for their independence, because the Frederick II, Emperor Frederick II, was
Yeah.
the first of his family to become king and later emperor. And when he died, the Swiss, because he came from the Aargau region in Switzerland, today's Switzerland,
Yes.
claimed that they didn't have a landlord, that they were not from his family,
Uh-huh.
but directly to the emperor, to the king.
Gotcha.
And that's what they were fighting for. They were not fighting to become an independent country, but they wanted the same status as Rothenburg and Frankfurt and Hamburg, that they were just, how do you say, legally bound to the king and
I
not
see.
to a restricted family.
Okay.
So that all fits together somehow.
So that's all fitting together.
Yes.
All right. Interesting. And I guess we reached the end of the wall because we walked down the stairs.
Yes.
The wall continues, just not the walkway with the
Yeah.
wall. We're walking away from the tower where we came down from the wall and headed towards the church. At least I assume it's the church that we saw. And it's quite interesting because you can see it appears to be a tunnel that goes underneath the church. I've never seen this. I think this is pretty amazing. We got to check it out. So there's some interesting windows Andreas just pointed out. He was telling me in the Middle Ages, they didn't have the capability to make bigger panes like you can see on the left. So they would make the small pieces and surround it with the metal, kind of like you'd see in stained glass, but kind of a neat little outcropping and window. There's the church and the little tunnel underneath it. We're trying to head over towards the market square or the city center. They have this really neat map of the city here. We're trying to figure out, we think we came in here and walked all along here. And then maybe this is where I got stuck, or maybe one of these others. And we came down here. And then we walked down here underneath the church, and then that's where we are right now. And we hope the car is over there since we're not sure. Now this is one of the things I absolutely wanted to stop and see here. I remember when I came before, my wife and I visited here. We got a Christmas ornament while we were here. This is the storeKathe Wolfahrts. It is like nothing you've ever seen before. I tried to tell Andreas, he's never heard of it. But it is a very famous and incredible Christmas store. So we're gonna go in and take a look. I don't know if they'll let me film, but we'll see. A little sneak peek in the window. This is pretty friggin' cool. All these little automated bears and rabbits. A lot of fun. I love this. Look at all of this Christmas goodness. I know it is only April, but I am feeling the Christmas spirit. We're gonna go into the Christmas Museum. We have bought our tickets and they gave us a washer to fit into the machine. And I told Andreas, we're doing this and I'm just going to buy us tickets because I want to do this. So as we come in here, we can see like a little diorama, and there's some plaques that kind of talk about the history of Christmas and where it came from. You know, it talks about the birth of Christ and that story. And then it goes through and talks about, you know, when it was set to be December 25th and, you know, the Roman Empire, and then some of the other displays kind of show, you know, some of the historical items, you know, the early Christmas trees and some of those things. So it's kind of interesting to see because a lot of these traditions have been around for hundreds of years. Looks like here we get to see some of the glass ornaments. This display has some examples of some of the fruit that they used, just like the one next to it. Talks about how there's that importance of the symbolism between apples and the Garden of Eden and the fall of Adam and Eve. You can see a little sculpture there and an ornament. And then down below, you can see some of the candle holders because that's how they would light trees, of course. Now, Andreas was telling me that they still use those here. That's what he uses in his home, which is very different than I think what we do in America. I'm not aware of anyone that uses candles, so interesting to see the different cultural experiences people have for the same event. In this room, it's talking about in the 1870s to 90s that the industry of making Christmas ornaments started to develop. You can see some very interesting old looking Christmas ornaments. It's quite interesting to see all of these Christmas tree examples. One there has tinsel. I remember that from when I was a kid. We don't really have that much anymore. You see here. This is actually quite an interesting and fascinating exhibit. If you like Christmas. If you don't like Christmas, I guess it wouldn't be for you. Now we're starting to get into the 1900s. This is where it talks about the first use of light bulbs for Christmas trees. And here is a lot of Santas. You can see Santa was definitely a different sort of character in this time and place. In this room you get a lot of examples of Father Christmas. And there's a plaque that talks about the story of Saint Nicholas, who is confirmed to be a real person and giver of gifts. And these are lots of different examples or representations of him early on. You can see a lot of similarities that run through here, but definitely different representations of what he looks like through the years. These are the first time I've seen reindeer in the display. Some of these old things, you can tell. Look at that Santa. And these light bulbs. How cool are those? They're kind of creepy, but they're pretty cool. Now here are some examples of Advent calendars, early editions. Kind of interesting to see. There's a display over here, but I can't show that one because evidently it is forbidden by German law to video or record things that have Nazi symbols. And there's a whole display of Christmas Nazi items. So if you want to see that, you will have to come here yourself and check it out. But in this room, this is pretty impressive. So these Christmas pyramids, when I came here before, we bought a very small one, not anything of this scale, but you light these candles and the hot air rises and turns that spinner at the top. And then you get to see the entire Christmas display on every level as it spins around. Wow, these are cool. Here we have a display of Rothenburg. You have your own little Christmas village. I gotta be honest, some of these look a little bit kind of creepy. If you don't believe me, look at these. I don't know if this is Krampus. I'll have to ask Andreas. Definitely not something we have in America for Christmas. I just noticed on this one, the donkey might be mechanical because there's a little wind-up key down here. It says, unfortunately, the movement mechanism is damaged, but the head of the donkey nodded. The donkey brayed loudly, hee-haw, and Santa Claus nodded his head and wagged his eyes. How cool would that be to see working? Wow. Definitely cooler than that. Eesh. Some great pop-ups. You can see nativities. This area behind me shows kind of the nutcracker history of Christmas, I guess, and lots of examples. There's some very interesting nutcrackers in here. We'll take a quick peek. But then you run into some very different characters. I've never seen one where you grab the nose. And in this case here, there's lots of different items. And then over here are some more nutcracker examples. Looks like a politician or something. All right, so that was the museum. I think it was definitely worth I think it was €5 to get in. Definitely worth it. And now we're gonna go see the really fun part. We're gonna go check out the store. There is so much Christmas in here.
They'll probably get mad at us.
Those are kind of cool. Now, even though we are in Germany, Andreas just told me this is so American. And I said it is very much for the tourists. And we haven't even got into the big room that I remember. I don't have a ton of memories from 30 years ago that are vivid. The next one I do.
Wow.
No, this is the same.
Wow. I'm already getting sick because of all that non-attending.
Would you look at that amazing display of Christmas awesomeness. I remember seeing this years ago, and it was amazing then, and it is amazing now. This is one of the very few memories I honestly have from when my wife and I came here. I think it was like 32 years ago, 28 years ago. 28 years ago we came here. It was in 1998, and I remember coming into this room, and it was August, just like now, it's not Christmas. This is incredible. I love it. I love Christmas. I think it's a great time. But let's see if we can find any good little souvenirs to take home. I don't have a lot of room, but we'll see. Now this is very touristy and kitschy, and I'm aware, and I'm okay with it. No matter how you like to display Christmas, whether it's wooden ornaments, glass ornaments, just, you can get your Noah's Ark on. Look at that. Santa on a snowflake. And don't forget your nutcracker. And these scenes are for your windows to display. We have one at home that is a nativity, but they have all kinds of different winter and Christmas themes. Some are much more ornate and bigger than others. Lots of little handcrafted nativities, as you would expect in a Christmas scene. But you also have your snowman, if you're of that persuasion instead. This might be the world's largest Christmas pyramid. No, it's not powered by candle heat, but that does not take away from its awesomeness. How cool is that? And then up here you have the wise men. I love those trees. Very, very cool. If you need Christmas towels, pillows, stockings, anything you need for Christmas is going to be found here. And anything you don't need for Christmas will be found here. Christmas towels. And I guess that's a Christmas cat and llama. I've been here before, and I'm sure if I ever come back again, it'll just blow me away just as much. This is just amazing. Such a cool place. For those that need a Christmas mouse in a hot tub with a ducky, they got you covered. I do like these window displays. These are quite nice. Got like a winter village scene, snowman, and Santa with his reindeer over the city. Love it. Frida Kahlo Christmas ornament. And the Christmas spirit continues. You got a red tree, you got that. Gold and white trees. Maybe you need a lighter shade of red. We got you covered there. Now these are pretty cool. I love a good cuckoo clock. They have some without sound. Where's the fun in that? I have a cuckoo clock in my house. I love it. Unfortunately, the mechanism is kind of messed up, but they are so iconic. I think it's amazing. Oh well, continuing on. But there's more to Rothenburg than Christmas, so let's get back out to exploring. During World War II, Germany, well, the Nazis, I should say, they portrayed Rothenburg as kind of the quintessential or idyllic German town. They actually sent people here, leaders and whatnot, to come and see it for the day and kind of stressed its importance. And then when America was making advances in the war, what happened was that Hitler sent armies here to defend the city because it needed to be preserved and protected. The Americans, when they came to attack, they first bombed a couple of parts of the city, and then the Secretary of War, realizing the cultural and historical importance of the city and probably the lack of military importance, he commanded that they do not bomb it. So what happened is that they sent, I think it was like 3 soldiers to the German lines, and they were captured, and the soldiers told the Germans, they said, hey, we have been told that if we do not return in 3 hours, they will destroy the city completely, and this is our offer. You surrender, or you choose not to fight, and we will not destroy the city. Now, the leader of the German army at the time in the city went against his directives to preserve the city, and they surrendered, and the city was saved. So, kind of cool that that happened. The Secretary of War was actually made an honorary citizen of Rothenburg shortly after that, after the war. So, interesting parts of history, and it's kind of cool that they've preserved it so that we can come and visit this place. Because the city is so preserved, it's definitely become a tourist destination. We've seen lots of Americans here, probably the most I've seen on my trip so far. All checking out ideal Germany, I guess. We're headed down to this gate. Now this is a gate within the city wall, I guess. As the city expanded, the walls were pushed further out. But this is a very popular site. This is where that picture that I had mentioned earlier, I believe I mentioned it, of my wife was taken. It's one of the ones we constantly talk about through the years, and so I think we're gonna find it and maybe we can recreate the photo. So I have found the spot I am looking for. It is right up here. Definitely gonna have to recreate this photo. I'm very excited about this. My wife will probably roll her eyes at me, but that's okay, because this is what I'm gonna do. The lady at Katie Wolfahrts told me that that diagonal house is very famous. Now behind me is that gate that I was mentioning where the photo was taken, and you can see that diagonal house. I think it's famous just because it's not really the same as all of the others. Everything seems to kind of follow the roads, but then this one diverts off down to a side road, and it's very kind of, I think, attractive looking. So glad I found it. You can see why this spot is so famous. You've got, a road going down into the tunnels. You've got this angled building. It's just so attractive looking and appealing to the eye. Just love it. It's kind of interesting to be on these small cobblestone roads and having cars go by.
That's the Dodge Ram.
Walking back towards the car and where we've parked, we see the Zuckerbäckerei, or sugar bakery. These appear to be a local creation. I may have to try one. We're guessing this tool is maybe how these are made. I don't know. Evidently these are dough that are covered in some sort of sweet goodness. Okay, so I got the pistachio snowball, I guess, schneeball. Let's try it and see what we think. It's a very different texture, very dry, much more dry than I expected. It's pretty good. Lots of tourists mulling about. Our time in Rothenburg is coming to an end. We are going to head back to the car. We've got other places we are going to try to get to today, but definitely a fun place to visit, just at least for a few hours. Not sure how it would be to live here, but definitely a fun place. Heading down the Autobahn to Günzburg. This is the place where our next destination is. Legoland Deutschland, or Germany, as we would say in English. Not sure if you can tell, but I think I might see it up there. We have parked our car and arrived at Legoland in Günzburg. It's a small town, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half outside of Munich. And we are gonna go here specifically for one reason. We will check out the park, but there is a place in this amusement park that is unlike any other, and Lego fans in America have dreamed about it. They have a Lego factory store where you can purchase all kinds of Lego parts in bulk, and that is why we have come. Well, that's why I've come. I think Andreas is here because I drug him here. But I digress. We are going to go in. I'm excited to see this. Hopefully we find some good items, good prices, and just have a good time. Looks like the restrooms are under repair. I hope that's not toilet water. We have entered through the gates. You can see we've got a family of Lego tourists sitting here at the bench. I assume we're going to find lots of brick-built Lego sculptures and people. You can of course see lots of stores like the one here. It's probably maybe like the big store, I think is what they generally have called it, at the other Lego store, Lego Lands, excuse me. That's where they're going to sell all of the Lego items. Now the park closes at 6 o'clock and it's like 4 o'clock now, so we don't have a ton of time. But the shops stay open an hour later, it sounds like. So let's see what we can find. You can see there's definitely some attractions that are up and about. It's like we've got an area of large Lego builds. We're in the park. You can see we got like little boat rides. Now the park is definitely geared towards younger children, but they do have some higher adventure rides we've seen. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily super scary or intense, but definitely something for a little bit more mature audience than the driving school. We have a Lego train, and it's interesting. In America, they would have never allow you to have this without a divider protecting us from the train. Behind me is the Lego factory store. We'll do a quick tour through this. You'll be able to see more on this on my other channel. But let's take a look and see what it's like in here. So you buy the bricks by the weight. It is 11 euros for 100 grams. So you can get a large quantity of various types of bricks. That's what is the attraction for a lot of Lego builders. You can see just all kinds of colors, different parts, plates, things like that. They do have animals and things, but those are, I think, by the piece, not by the weight. But we'll see what we can find. So I have bought a Lego store. Well, because they were going to close, we only had 1 hour. We decided we better do that since that's the main reason I came to Legoland Germany. And we're going to try to hit one ride before they close. So, wish us luck. Here's the dragon train we're going to ride on. That is what we just drove. Here's a brick-built talking beaver. You don't see that every day. Here's the jousting ride. Imagine as a 6 or 8-year-old how fun that would be to be riding a horse, jousting. We're gonna go through the mini land. It's about the only thing left open, so we'll go through here. This is, I guess, the town where Legoland is built here, Swabia. However, I thought it was Günzburg, so maybe I don't know. But according to this, it's Svarbia. Looks like we have a similar display as Legoland Billund with famous towers of the world. You can see some of these look like they've been pretty weathered, but they're still here. You have Berlin, and further down in the Berlin section you have the Brandenburg Gate and some construction. Behind me, this massive build is Frankfurt, so you can see the skyscrapers, and then you've got like the old town back there, it looks like. Very impressive builds.
The Römerberg.
The Römerberg.
Römerberg, yes.
Now this build here is much more massive than it looks. This is called Allianz Arena. This is where Bayern Munich plays, the soccer or football team as they would say here. And this cutaway gives you an idea of the massive build, and you can see all of those minifigs. That is very impressive. After Legoland closed, we decided to make our way to Stuttgart to spend the night. We stayed just near the Mercedes-Benz factory outside Stuttgart. We've decided we're going to spend the night outside of Stuttgart. We've got a hotel, and we just came down and we had dinner at Funzel. If you're wondering what Funzel is, it's evidently that lamp there. That is a Funzel. Dinner was a traditional German fare. It's quite good, actually. I had, what was it I had?
Hackbraten.
Hackbraten. It's like a meatloaf is how I would describe it. He said meatball, but it was shaped like meatloaf. And then I had red cabbage or rotkohl, and then there was some sort of other thing on there. And a really good salad. And it was very good. So I got my traditional German meal besides the doner kebab. And I think now we'll go back to the hotel to turn in. We have one more day before I head home. So Andreas might live after all. I think he said I'm killing him because I am. He says no. No, you didn't say that, but you made it sound like I was making you go so hard, you're getting so worn out.
That's what you do on holidays. You enjoy your holidays so much that you are tired every evening.
My wife, she complains when we go on our vacations or holidays, as you would say, that she needs a vacation when we get home from our vacation because yes. I work her too much. So we will make our way back to the Spark, I believe it is. It's a Hilton hotel. Got a discount rate because my daughter works there, so we said it's a good place and a good price. So I am in room 220 at the Spark, so you can see, walk in, the bathroom is there. You come in to the room. It is quite nice. And we are right across the street from the Mercedes factory. Well, this is the opposite way. The Mercedes factory is behind us. There we go, I found a little more light. So that is going to do it for our adventure for today. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully you enjoyed Rothenburg Ob Der Tauber. There's not a lot of content on Legoland in this one because we weren't there very long and mostly it was at the store, but you know, there's that too. If you want more of the details of the story, you can check that out on my other channel, Jason's Bricks and 5. But that's definitely much more Lego heavy content. So we're not really sure what we're going to do tomorrow. There were a few things we thought we could do. Looks like they may have fallen through, but we will try to make the most of my last day here before I head back on Tuesday. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on another episode of Jason's Life in 5. Happy travels!